Hi, and welcome back to Tundra Sounds. So today we are going to take a look at destinations and mud paths because I got this question from, we got this question on our Facebook group, Dave Smith Tempest Users International, from, Max Palfrey. He said, "Can someone do a video on the mud paths feature with practical demonstrations? Pretty please." And yes, Max, I will do that for you, and I will also do that for everyone else that are curious on this as well. And several people have mentioned the mud matrix as a frustration. Tommy Licker said in my last video, "I found that I'm having troubles developing percussive clap elements from a sound designing standpoint. Guess I just need to explore the elaborate mud matrix further. Anyway, cheers, you're helping me a lot." Yeah, thank you, Tommy Licker. It's very nice to get comments like this on my YouTube videos because it makes me want to make more videos. They can be critical, they can be loving. Usually I love it when you at least show some appreciation even though you are critical of some of the content. I'm not perfect, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert, I'm a user, and I think I have an ear for at least creating sounds that most people would think are pretty cool. Yeah. And I also got comments from John Rickardson talking about how we would usually follow a recipe first and then maybe analyze it later. And that's a good way to do it in the beginning, because in the beginning you would want to just hear what the Tempest is capable of, or any synth you own. What is it capable of? Try a recipe and then analyze it later. The reason why I kind of criticized recipes and tutorials for being too shallow and not going into depth about the actual hearing part of the sound designing is that that you will learn to follow a recipe, but you won't necessarily learn what it does to the sound. And your Tempest or any synth that you own can be tuned a little bit differently. The synth oscillators can be calibrated differently, so you would have to use your ears any ways. Okay, yeah, enough about that. Let's get down to business. But first, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys that actually comments on videos and comments in the Facebook page, etc., because you are providing something to the synth community. You make it bigger, you make it actually kind of social, even though we are on the internet. And all the geeks out there, including me, it's a little bit it can be a little bit of a loner when you are on the web all the time. And I have to admit, I'm too much on the internet, so it's nice when it kind of feels like it's a society there as well. So let's begin now. I'm not going to bore you with stuff that doesn't matter when it comes to this episode. So, okay, yeah, I will put on the Tempest. And we will have a sound. Let's go to the amp envelope here. Sorry, the oscillator one, and add a pulse wave maybe. And then go and route that to voice 1. And maybe make it a little bit longer, the decay to 100, so that we can actually hear the different changes throughout the video. And the changes we do to the sound. Yeah. And I'm not going to create the perfect sounds here. I'm going to teach some of you guys what the mud paths and destinations are all about. If you haven't spent enough time learning it yet, you can watch it with me and drink your coffee or beer or wine or whatever. Should have opened that wine. Yeah, we'll have to wait. Yeah, so let's go to the low pass envelope here, and we will not strangle it, as I usually say strangle when I'm closing the filter, like, yeah. So I'm adding some low pass frequency here, cutoff, low pass frequency. I'm adding some cutoff here. I'm removing some of the upper frequencies with the low pass knob here, and I'm using the low pass filter to open it up in the beginning of the sound. So but I'm not opening it up completely, because I got this advice from John Ricardo, I think, one of my viewers on YouTube. He told me that too high frequencies and headphones can be a bad combinations, and when you're creating claps and such, and you're opening up the filter too much and adding all this very sharp and high impulses, loud impulses, then it can hurt your ears. So yeah, we will be a little bit careful today for my ears and your ears as well. I want to take care of me and you, you know. So now we have used the amp envelope and the low pass envelope to just get a just normal wave shape that doesn't hurt our ears, and a length of a sound that is makes it possible to hear the changes within a sound. So let's go to the pitch envelope here. So the amp envelope is hardwired to the amplitude of the signal. The low pass envelope or filter envelope is hardwired to the filter, and the pitch envelope is not hardwired, but it's routed to control the oscillators, the pitch of the oscillators, if we don't change it. So let's choose the standard destination for now. And if I use a positive amount with the decay of let's say 100, it will begin at a higher pitch and then go down to the original pitch in the end of the sound. We can do the opposite. We can go in the negative direction, negative amount. Yeah. So the amount, the negative and positive amount, is something you should take note of when you're using destinations, an LFO, the envelopes, the mod paths, because negative amount will make something, for example, deeper in pitch or panned to the left, or it will shape the sound in the opposite direction of the positive one, you know. So we will take a look at other stuff it can do. So let's now it's let's go and change the destination to panning instead. So there, pan, and go to the mixer, and we will pan the sound to the right, and we will use the pitch envelope, which now is a pan envelope. Yeah, we will actually name it after the destination. So now it's a pan envelope. So the amount should be at 127 because it will go all the way to the opposite direction of the positive right, you know. And if we introduce a sharper or faster decay, it will have a faster travel time from the left to the right channel. The faster we do this, the faster it will change side, whatever. Yeah. So now we know that we can go to the destination here. So if we change all of this, we can call this pitch envelope when it is changing the frequency then it's a pitch envelope. When it is changing the level, then it's an amp envelope, okay? When it is changing the pulse width, well, yeah, it's a pulse width envelope, yeah? And oscillator, sub-oscillator volume, then it's a sub-amp envelope. And let's see, the low-pass filter, then it's a it's a filter envelope. Resonance, yeah, resonance envelope, etc., etc. Yeah. So even if it says pitch envelope here, this is just to make it easy for you to create your drums, because this is advertised as marketed as a drum synth. But it can be so much more. But that's the reason why this is a pitch envelope by standard. Probably because when you create a snare, a clap, a snare, tom, kick, and similar sounds, you would want a pitch drop to create a more snappy attack. But maybe you don't want it to for that reason. So, and you can also choose the aux envelope 1 and 2 to become pitch envelopes as well if you want to. Let's go to the aux envelope, and yeah, oscillator 1 frequency, aux 2, oscillator 1 frequency. So you can have 3 pitch envelopes. So this can be very fun. Let's take a look at the pitch envelope. Let's see, I'll go to the mixer here, and we will center it again, and then go to the pitch envelope. I will have a very fast decay. It will begin at a higher pitch, let's say like this. We will choose oscillator 1 frequency, so like this, but faster. Yeah, so it immediately sounds more percussive. But what if we do that multiple times with the aux 1 as well? So 31, and the amount of 83, and a little bit of delay. So kind of sounds like 2 drums. And the aux envelope 2 here, and a longer delay. We will delay the envelope. Yeah. So this will also mess with the frequency here, and a short decay, and a high amount. Yeah. So now we know what we can do with the aux envelopes. And if you watched my last video about the clap tutorial about how you understand the drum synthesis instead of just following a recipe, this is how you do it. You get to know all of the parts here instead of just following the recipe, you know. So now you should know what these destinations do. You can choose the destinations from what does what to what, you know. So aux 1 does something to oscillator 1 frequency. So let's turn that off again, and that off again. Now you only hear the pitch envelope, which is now not anything else than a pitch envelope, because it's a frequency, oscillator 1 frequency envelope. It's a pitch envelope, but it has chosen just one oscillator, so I could choose all frequencies as well. Because if I just have one oscillator, then introduce another sound. Let's see. On oscillator 2, let's say we make oscillator 2 a sawtooth. Now you can hear that the pitch drop is only doing something to oscillator 1, because as you can hear, if I pan it all the way to the right, it doesn't do anything. But if I pan it all the way to the left, well, this is not panning per se. This is mixing between oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. Here it's kind of like reminds us of the drum capabilities. Here it doesn't. So yeah, so analyze all of the things that you do. Go to the destinations, and if it says oscillator 1 frequency, it will only change oscillator 1 frequency and nothing else. So that's why if it's at 50% here, like a 50% mix between both of the oscillators, you will have to go to the pitch envelope and choose oscillator all frequency. Sounds better now? Yeah. Okay, so let's turn off, let's see. I will go to the oscillator 1 again and pan it all the way to 100% mix, 100% oscillator 1. And now we have learned something about the envelope destinations. Let's go to the LFO instead, and maybe do something to the destination here. So the LFO can do stuff to the destinations as well, yeah. It can be the frequency like we already did. And we can have a faster rate. So the rate is how fast it goes up and down in frequency. So, oh, here is like a machine gun. If it's too fast, you won't hear it actually, like here. Just kind of distorts the sound instead, because the rate is too fast. But one thing I like to do when I create synth sounds, that I don't want it to sound like too off key in a way. So I tend to make the beginning of the sound a very pure and correct pitch, and then it will whoa afterwards, kind of like if I play the key and then turn the mod wheel. So that we can do that by turning the amount all the way down here and go to oscillator 1, for example, and we will choose destination LFO amount, LFO 1 amount, and we will delay it, like, yeah, it's delayed already. And let's take a listen to this. And we can introduce a little bit slower attack. Even a little bit slower, slower delay. Even slower. So sometimes I do this maybe with a little bit more subtle amount here. So if I hold down a chord or something, it will, or I can do the opposite. I can, so whatever you have to do to create a more musical sound, and it has to fit your project. If you want to sing on top of the chords, you don't want it to be too much out of tune for too long period of time. You would want it to kind of make it seem like a natural thing, that it's kind of off key and then going on key again, or the opposite. But never make it be off key for a too long period of time. Yeah, so so there are some other things that they can do. So now we connected the aux 1 and the LFO in a way. And yeah, so let's go to the mod path here. So this is our sound now. let's see what we can do if we learn the mod paths as well. If you want to learn more about the mod paths, you can also watch my Understand Drum Synthesis, the 808 type clap video that I did last time. I kind of showed how you use the mod path to open up the filter. No, sorry, I used the envelopes to open up the filter. But I also used the mod paths to trigger, to open the oscillator that was kind of silent. Open it up every time these envelopes were active, you know. So that made this clappy sound like crack, crack, because it opened up the oscillator for a little bit of time with a little bit of distance between each of the impulses. So that it sounds like many people clapping almost the same time. That's how we perceive claps usually, yeah. So, the mod paths, this is our sound. Let's take a look at, for example, noise, yeah. And so, let's pretend that source is the nail, amount is the hammer, and destination is the piece of wood that you hammer the nail in, you know, inside of, yeah, whatever, that's the wood that you penetrate with a nail using a hammer, yeah, whatever. So let's say that's oscillator 1 frequency. So there's not much distortion there now. Let's hammer it even more, even more, even more, even more, even more, even more. So you can hear that it distorts the sound a little bit. And so yeah, that's basically how the mod paths work. We have something that will mess up something else or change something else. So that can also be, that can be so many things. That can be also be, if I go to mod 2 here, we can go to something called random. So a random nail will do something to the oscillator 1 frequency, and because of this randomness, it will affect the amount as well. It doesn't, the amount is more like how narrow it is, the randomness. If the randomness is happening between these two walls, it's like, let's say 5 semitones, 10 semitones, 3 semitones. However, this was just throwing some numbers out there. It's not accurate like that. But you can hear, if I take it all the way up to 127, it sounds so weird, man, because it would change the pitch from the deepest to the highest pitch that is available when you're at 127 in a very random way. That can be cool if you want to create some random noisy music. But if I go all the way down to like 15, it will be super random within a much more narrow scale when it comes to different pitches, you know. And when you have added all of this noise, you can't really hear those variations that much either. So this can be a cool thing to add to like your drums and stuff like that, to just create more life in your mix or composition. So but you can try to, you can make the randomizer affect the resonance, let's see, so many things like feedback. Oh my god, yeah, have to be careful. Like John Ricardo, I think his name was, he told me on my YouTube video, last video, be careful with your ears and using the headphones. So yeah, I advise you to be careful as well. Whoa. Yeah, so this is very kind of seems like it's a bit too random for you maybe, but if you don't get it yet, let's see, let's take another look at something here. We can make velocity. Yeah. Hey. Slider pressure. Okay, so that can be cool. So this here can also do changes to oscillator 1 frequency. Yeah, I will have to change the amount here. So I could spend like a million years talking about the different destinations and mod paths. It's difficult to explain the mod paths without examples, and it's difficult to know exactly what you're looking for when you're asking about the mod paths. So if you're looking for something specific, please leave a comment in the comment section, because maybe it's easier for me to answer that question. And yeah, question of the day is, of course, one of those are, what specific part of the mod paths don't you get and you want some advice or something like that? That's one of those questions. And the other question is, what are you doing with the mod paths that you want to share with us? And yeah, so if you learned anything from watching this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to watch more, please hit that subscribe button. Maybe share it as well. Hit that bell so that you will get that annoying alarm sound every time I upload a video. And yeah, see you next time, and bye bye.